All right, Natasha. We are back for episode 2 of Fast Forward, presented by CAD Management and Austere Visuals. We got, my friend, colleague, the best designer and, creative director in the game, I think, Natasha Brito here. So, for anybody who's new who hasn't joined in, this is our panel series that we partnered with LinkedIn. Huge shout out to LinkedIn, Victoria, and their whole community management team over there for allowing us and giving us this platform. And this is our opportunity to bring some of the top minds to really talk about marketing, entertainment, and just really the larger issues and opportunities for artists, brands, and content creators to kind of handle the uncertainty that is obviously clouding the world. So, I'm going to hand it off to Natasha.
Yeah, no, we're really excited to be here. Number 2 down the pipeline. So we're very stoked. The topic we're talking about today is something that's really important right now. We're very passionate about. I know I am a huge fan of TikTok and kind of what's happening in the industry with it right now. So, who we've brought along for today to talk to, they're going to bring so much insight into what they have to say, what they've done on the platform already. And we just hope that there's a lot of insights gained from this and that you guys enjoy what we have to, bring to the table.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to bring Evan and Rachel in. All right, guys. Thanks.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, thanks
Hello.
so much for joining us.
Our pleasure.
Like we were saying, TikTok is obviously an amazing platform. And let me just read some numbers off here to kind of set the stage. So TikTok recently just announced that they passed over 2 billion downloads as an app. Their last quarter, mind you, they are a publicly traded company under ByteDance. They just came out with a report that they had over 315 million downloads this last quarter alone, which, according to multiple reports, mentioned that was the fastest growth that any app has ever had in one quarter's time, which I think is incredible when you're comparing it to Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, etc. We have brought together 2 of the top minds in TikTok and content creation space here with Evan and Rachel. And obviously, we want to start off with just getting a little background on you guys and some of the work that you guys are doing. So Evan, we'll start with you.
Sure. Thanks, Clayton. So good to be here. So I'm Evan Horowitz. I'm the CEO here at Movers and Shakers. We're a creative agency, and our focus is on spreading joy. So everything that we do, we want to put a big smile on people's faces, create a positive emotional energy, and connect that energy back to the brands that we're working with to drive more brand love. So we work across digital. We do a lot of video production for Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. And the last year, TikTok has just really exploded for us, and now we're doing a ton of work on the platform. Last fall, we became TikTok famous when we created the Eyes Lips Face campaign with e.l.f. Cosmetics. Still holds the record for the most viral campaign in TikTok history. Over 5 billion views, 3.5 million user-generated videos, people joining the challenge. More than that, like celebrity participation from Reese Witherspoon, Ellen DeGeneres played her TikTok actually on national TV on her show, Kevin Hart, et cetera. The song that we created for that campaign went viral on its own as a song. Hit number 4 on Spotify's global viral charts. It was in the top 50 on Spotify viral from Australia to Belgium, Netherlands, etc. Really just proving, I think, the power of TikTok to launch music, among so many other things. So yeah, that went on to become an original music video that we partnered with Republic Records, who picked up promotion of the song because it had become so successful on TikTok. So really cool just to see how TikTok is enabling that kind of mass virality for brands, enabling artists to get their work out there in a whole new way. The artist that we worked with for that song, Eleno, his career went to a whole new level because of that. And also as an agency, that success, which we got so much publicity for, just led to so much more work on TikTok. So since last fall, many brands are coming to Movers and Shakers looking for help to understand TikTok. How do you enter that? And we're working with a lot of brands to build their brand channels on TikTok, do influencer campaigns, ad campaigns, and of course, many more viral challenges. We recently passed 20 billion views cumulatively across all of our TikTok work at Movers and Shakers. So super proud of that and just inspired by the possibilities for brands.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's a pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we saw that campaign alone got so much media coverage. I mean, the Eyes, Lips, Face, and didn't you guys even turn the Eyes, Lips, Face campaign and flipped it around for quarantine culture? Like you took it. So yeah, can you walk us through a little bit about that too? Because I saw that on the headlines. I thought that was a brilliant way to kind of continue the marketing.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, so, when quarantine happened, and ELF, who we work with very closely, they're wondering and asking us, what can we do to help make a difference, in a positive way during quarantine? What assets do we have that we could leverage? And we thought, wow, we have the Eyes, Lips, Face song, which everybody on Gen Z knows and loves. All the Gen Z on TikTok knows and loves. And how could we repurpose that? We just had this insight, Eyes, Lips, Face has this whole thing at the beginning of quarantine when we wanted to educate about safety and hygiene. So we did a remix with the original artists from Eyes, Lips, Face, where we rewrote Eyes, Lips, Face into Eyes, Lips, Face, Safe. And it was, air kisses only with them lips, don't touch them eyes. Really clever what the team did, rewriting that. And we relaunched it as a new TikTok challenge, really because we knew that there was room to educate Gen Z and just build awareness around the importance of good hygiene. And that went viral again. We got 9,000 videos created just totally organically through that. We got some big names participating: Lauren Gray, Megan Trainor, a couple people from the Republic lineup who wanted to participate as well. So really, I think a fun example of how you can take, something that already is fun and popular on TikTok, put a new spin on it and bring new life to it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I think we're getting stuck for a second here. Clay.
But yeah, that was a cool project. I think, TikTok is it's just an amazing opportunity to create these viral moments that you can't do in any other platform.
Absolutely. It looks like Clay's having a little bit of a technical issue, so
Sorry,
apologies on that.
The close-up.
Well, then, I'll go ahead and just quickly jump in so that we're still moving along, and we will get back to Rachel because we definitely want to give her an introduction and learn more about what she's been up to. But I'll jump into the first question and you can go ahead and answer it, which is, from the artist side, we have heard one of the biggest barriers for content creators, artists, and brands to engage in TikTok is the age demographic. What would you say is your take on anyone who's coming in on the older side of TikTok? What would be the best advice for them if they're trying to kind of make a stamp for themselves, whether they're a musician or a brand, and they're trying to engage an older audience?
Yeah. Well, I think, with anybody, you want to know who your audience is and who it isn't. And you're only going after your community. So TikTok now has so many users. I mean, we just heard the figures. You're not trying to engage everybody. So just being clear about who it is that you're trying to reach, and assuming that is a population on TikTok, I think there's a real opportunity there. One of the genius things about TikTok is that their algorithm really learns to understand who you are very quickly. And so you see that in your feed. If you look at your TikTok feed compared to anybody else's TikTok feed, you're going to think you're in a different app. But what that means, for yourself as an artist or a brand trying to promote yourself, is you just got to get into the lane of the people who are your people. And I think just being authentic to who you are and how you connect with your audiences and other platforms, doing that, telling those same stories, but just in a TikTok way, that will help get you in that lane, and you will be able to connect with your people there.
Absolutely. Here we go. All right. Very cool. Well, then let's just go ahead and jump over to Rachel so we can get her intro, her thoughts on the question as well.
Hello, everybody. Well, first of all, thank you to the Fast Forward team for inviting myself and Dallas Media to be here today. Evan, it was really nice to hear about you and kind of put a face to the name behind those amazing campaigns. So I'm applauding you in silence over here. I think that a little bit about me. So as Natasha said, my name is Rachel Hardway. I represent the company Dallas Media. We are an independent music marketing creative agency. And so we work, our main mission is to essentially, divide the line between art and commerce, but, artists are always at the forefront of any strategy that we put together. I think our success is really trying to set artists up with success in any of the digital spaces. I think for me, in transparency, I've just been a digital nerd, 90s kid, love my Zanga sites, love MySpace. And I think that TikTok is the next, it is the next kind of big space that, my team has been hyper focused on and has seen success in growing different artists in this space. So I think it's a really exciting time for any digital marketer to certainly include TikTok in their digital marketing strategy. So just excited to talk more about that here today.
Absolutely. I mean, and something, to note, Rachel and I go back real far. And I remember when I wasn't even giving two shits about TikTok, she was ramming it down my throat. Like, dude, you got to get on here. You got to start looking at how to market in this space. Like, this is the next big thing. So I appreciate you for always, supporting and pushing everyone to be more involved and just getting all us people who are stubborn about it into that space. Because it really is, it's an amazing platform. And I mean, there's just so much of a future ahead. Do you have thoughts on that first question about older demographics, barriers to entry and how to adjust accordingly for your own strategy?
I mean, I think that Evan really hit it on the head in terms of, this app is very catered to how you communicate it with it user per user. So the one thing that we always work with our artists is to remind them of that is I don't think you should go in with this goal of, okay, I want to engage every single one of the million, people on TikTok. I think that if you're able to tack into even, 3% of your own following and engage them, start small and then get big. So, if that means if your audience perhaps is a little bit older in terms of demographic, that doesn't mean that you can't age up any content that's trending in the app. I think the Transitions app is one app that I loved and I thought was hilarious. And I actually did see a lot of older, I'll just say, like, I saw a couple grandmas on platform doing really funny transition posts. And so I think that the beauty of TikTok is the filters. There are a lot of trending filters in there that are made to be amorphous so that they aren't age gated, so to speak. So I think that as long as you're honest and direct with your audience, then I don't think that you need to let the age thing hinder you so much into using the app. Just, it's more so catering your content to your specific age demo.
I love that. So true. So true.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think one of the things that, like we were saying before, I mean, the volume of downloads, I think, is just something that we have to keep an eye on, because it is quite possible in the next couple of years that TikTok becomes even more popular than Facebook or Instagram. But can you guys give us a sense, and maybe, Evan, we can start with you, maybe on like the brand and the artist side, how important has TikTok become in the brand marketing strategy? And where are you kind of putting it in relation to like other social platforms when brands or artists come to you and say, hey, we want to do a digital campaign, and where are you placing TikTok in terms of importance now?
For brands, you mean, or for artists?
We can do both. Like, I'm just curious to, curious to get your thoughts on both angles.
Yeah, well, our clients are always brands, so we hire a lot of artists for our campaigns. So let me just take it from that perspective. It really, how important TikTok is depends a lot on who you're trying to reach as a brand, right? So last year, basically all of Gen Z was on TikTok by the end of the year. So if you're a Gen Z focused brand, you absolutely needed to be on TikTok to be relevant. not all of them were yet, but they should have been. Now we're seeing TikTok age up a lot. So 25 to 45 is a segment that's growing super fast on TikTok. So now if you're a brand that's focused on Gen Z or that millennial audience, TikTok is increasingly relevant, as you just need to follow your consumers' eyeballs, right? Brands that are focused on an older demo, it's less important now, but my prediction is it's to continue to age up as the year goes on extremely rapidly. So, I think what we're seeing from our clients is that they're really starting to pivot very quickly towards TikTok. So some of the early adopters, like Elf, are already in 2.0, 3.0 TikTok strategies, and other guys are just trying to get up to their 1.0. But recognizing that now there's urgency around that. I think everybody can see that TikTok is still in an early phase right now. And so marketers who remember when Facebook was new, when Instagram was new, you remember how much of a leg up you had if you were one of the first guys on the platform. And people want to be that. They want to get in now. Because I think by 2021, it's not going to be like whether your brand has a TikTok presence. It's just going to be how good it is.
Absolutely.
And Rachel, we would love to, get your thoughts on this too.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you please repeat the question?
Yeah. So, and I guess you can either take it from the brand or the artist side. But how important is TikTok becoming in terms of the marketing prowess that it holds against platforms like Instagram and Facebook and Twitter? When brands or artists are coming to you and saying, we have money, we have a budget, we want to create content for this album release or this brand campaign. Where are you ranking TikTok now, maybe versus a year ago? And do you think that there's a possibility that it becomes, one of, if not the most important platform with its incredible growth that we've seen over the last couple quarters?
Great. Thank you. I knew there were a couple tiered answers in there, so I wanted to make sure I was clear. Thank you for repeating. I think that just to kind of spearhead the first part of that question, as somebody who is, a music industry executive, TikTok is far and wide the first part of our strategy right now. I think that at first it was starting out, as Natasha remembers, when we were working on a project together, TikTok was still a bit amorphous, but now it is like an absolute bar none. It needs to be part of any artist campaign strategy. Some campaigns more so than others, depending on the genre and the music goals and the demographics that you're trying to advertise to. But for any of my hip hop clients, I know specifically that, TikTok is always going to be at the top of their agenda, because anything with, from a music perspective, anything that has that, the beats or the commercial appeal to it, or that the boom, boom, bap, those are things that perform really, really well on TikTok. And oftentimes that, does just happen in our music in general. So I think that for, we take, for any of the artists that we work with at Dauntless Media, we certainly take a two-tiered approach with our artists. Step one is, as an artist, you absolutely need to be on TikTok. You need to be on there every single day. And the same way that you're checking your Instagram every morning and going through looking at your Explore page, that is what, I advise them to do on TikTok. Get into your TikTok page, look at the trending hashtags, look at the trending moments, and be part of that conversation. Because kind of what Evan said, like it's, 2021, it's not going to be, are you on there? It's how good are you on there? In the same way that, some of the biggest Instagram pages now, started off at zero, the same way. So I think we're seeing a very similar trend in terms of, it's no longer a question of should the artist be on TikTok? It's you better be on TikTok. And at this point, you should start thinking about what other, fan group pages can you start to secure in your certain territories before it comes into like what happened on Instagram, where a lot of that digital real estate is already being taken up. So I think from the artist perspective, they absolutely need to be on there every single day to engage their audience, increase their following. But then also, on the other side, as an artist, your music is all going to be on platforms. So anything that you distribute to Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music is also going to be on TikTok, so that, from Evan's point, coming on a brand perspective, if you're able to make a big impact with your song and app, it is, perhaps it can be now a sound that brands are considering in their TikTok advertising. I mean, for me specifically, I've seen many times where a lot of our songs will take off in TikTok, and then they started TikTok and now they're on the Spotify viral charts. And it's, I mean, you can almost see most of the songs on Spotify viral charts usually have had a TikTok moment. And that's, you know, I'm speaking from the last 6 months of things that you see on the Spotify charts. So there is certainly a clear indicator between TikTok activity and what you're seeing on a lot of these chart topping hits, simply because that's just where the audience is for a lot of the music and demographics that I'm currently working in. So I think that you should absolutely, if you're, you know, any sort of musician, artist that's in that Gen X, Gen Z, millennial space, you should absolutely be on TikTok. And, you know, that said, like an artist of any level, because as we were saying, the age is considering to increase. And, you know, I know TikTok for a while since quarantine started, they were doing that hashtag TikTok covers. And that was up to like now that's like surpassed 2 billion views on TikTok. So why wouldn't you, in the same way that YouTube acoustic covers kind of kicked off in YouTube many years ago, that's happening in the TikTok space. So whether you're an artist or just somebody who doesn't have a song on Spotify but loves doing covers, that is your opportunity right now to jump into a space that is quite literally leading that area right now in that lane.
I've heard some music executives say that TikTok is becoming so powerful that it's almost like the new radio for the promotions team that is like trying to break a record.
Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it really is such a powerful platform.
Absolutely. Well, so you guys heard it first. Secure the handles, people. If you haven't yet, you need to do it. Exactly. So, you know, talking about TikTok, and something that people don't really realize is that we are looking at some competitors trying to come into the market. We have YouTube coming out with Shorts, which is an in-app feature for short form video sharing, aka the same thing we're seeing is scaling for TikTok. There's another group that is Vine's co-founder launched another app called Byte, which I have been on. Whatever. And, you know, there's a bunch of these other competitors that are trying to come and see how, you know, they're seeing how successful and scalable this platform is and how easy it is to kind of probably create the back end. Do you think that there is a chance during COVID-19 that one of these will spark up and get more attention and actually get some notoriety? Or do you think TikTok at this point has truly just like overtaken and there's no competitors that's going to, you know, even stand a chance of getting attention?
I think that TikTok has owned this space pretty well. I know that, I think Facebook launched a TikTok solution, Lasso, in 2019, which, while it is a great platform, I don't believe that it really stuck in the same way that TikTok has. Just in my personal opinion, I don't think that lightning can strike twice. I know that Instagram has obviously, there's been a lot of other photo-based platforms, but Instagram still pretty much owns that space. And I think that TikTok has owned that space really well. And let's not forget, you know, TikTok in the US used to be Musical.ly. And so it kind of went into that next phase of TikTok. So I think just having that kind of historical data of knowing where it came from and where it is now, I think that it would be really challenging for, you know, that doesn't mean that it doesn't, you know, TikTok won't have its competitors. I think that it's done a great job at really owning that space.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It seems to be like a elevated version of where we originally saw kind of Vine taking hold, and there were some competitors trying to take space in that area too, and no one was successful at it. Evan, would love your thoughts as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with Rachel on it. I think TikTok has become the 500-pound gorilla very quickly, and the momentum is just insane. I think we're now seeing that with as people aging, you know, older and older people getting on the platform. I'm curious to see if the younger people start to leave because of that. You know, that would be a leading indicator. But I think we're still a long way away from that driving any sort of meaningful shift. And I do think that because TikTok is so good at segmenting the content, like we were talking about earlier, where you really see stuff that's relevant for you personally, I think that they can have a very big and diverse audience and still really drive a lot of stickiness. So I'm not too worried for them.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So One piece of news that came out about TikTok the other week, which was pretty interesting. It was first reported from Digiday. Was that they're coming out with a new ad format that links advertisers to its prominent influencers to let those creators display a prominent call to action button to their videos. So apparently, the ad revenue would reportedly be split between TikTok and the influencer. So I guess my question to you both, and Evan, I guess we can start with you, is do you think that monetization opportunities like this are needed for TikTok to bring more advertising dollars to the platform, especially as TikTok continues to grow in popularity? And if these monetization tools put more money into creators' pockets, do you think it will entice more creators to spend more of their time and energy on this platform compared to maybe Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, where there's not necessarily that kind of direct monetization, almost like agent-like tool within the platform?
Yeah. So for the first question about the importance for TikTok of doing this to bring more ad dollars in, I do think it's important that TikTok continues to expand their ad product offerings. Right now, pretty much all of the TikTok ad products, except for their traditional sort of in-feed ads, they're all really top of funnel campaigns that are focused more on brand awareness. But it's very hard on TikTok to, as an advertiser, to drive conversions, to drive actually traffic to your site. So things like the pilot that you mentioned, I think, where you can have a click out, I think those are really important for advertisers who want to make sure that they can not just create awareness and buzz, but also directly drive shopping cart conversions. And on the second point, is that going to draw more creators? I think it's going to professionalize the creators on TikTok because more people will be able to make a good living by being creators, which I think is great for driving the level of creativity to the platform even higher. I think the downside is it will start to become, and this is going to happen regardless of the amount of features that TikTok adds, but it's going to start to become much more commercial feeling. I think it's a lot of eye rolling on Instagram because sometimes it can feel like everything is sponsored. So it's inevitable for TikTok that it will go there regardless of the ads that they offer. But I don't think it's going to, you asked about market share between platforms and will more creators go to TikTok? From my perspective, creators on TikTok are just different beasts than creators on other platforms. I think a lot of people kind of have a platform that fits their style more naturally. Not to say that people can't be flexible and learn, but we don't see a lot of successful creators from Instagram or YouTube also being successful on TikTok, for example, just because the dynamic is so different. So it is hard for people to convert.
Yeah, absolutely. Rachel, would love to have you step in here.
Yeah, I actually completely echo kind of everything that Evan had said. I don't think that it hinders so much. I think I just always err on the side of caution when it comes to things becoming super commercial because, the thing about TikTok that made it great is just this organic feel. I think that what I'm thinking of is whenever Instagram went through that wave of everything became a super polished, like really great, dressed to the nines look. And then people like Cardi B came to the game, no filters, kind of went in. And then since then, you started to see a lot more organic content, for lack of a better word. So I think that TikTok will go through their own evolution of that, where it will start to, right now, particularly because influencer marketing is such a, high ticket conversation item, that yes, I think that even now, I know my 11-year-old niece who's very active in the TikTok space, even she's talking to me about these big TikTok namers, influencers, and she's like, oh, I don't even watch their content anymore. It's so clear. And she's 11 years old. So, I think that the young consumer is a lot smarter in terms of calling this out and looking at it. So I do think that, and I'm sure TikTok is aware that there is a level of caution where you don't want it to become a new Gen X, Gen Z ad platform. But I do think that this idea of having that will add more of a professional thing and more of an opportunity for creators to create more in this space and get more creative and get more engaging so that it doesn't feel so commercial. So I don't want it to certainly sound like I'm bashing this idea of, supporting influencers in this space, because I think it's great. I think it's just making sure you find that fine line so that the consumers on the other side aren't able to read through that too much. Wow. That said, though, I love running in-app ads in TikTok. I think that the like kind of what they've set up themselves has served our artists really well and has been a great driver in terms of driving consumption onto YouTube by running YouTube ads. TikTok ads driving to YouTube in there. So we've seen success, I guess, using our own success using TikTok advertising to outreach to other social digital platforms as well.
I mean, Evan, I think this brings up a really important point too, because obviously you're working with a lot of different brands. How are they valuing, like, what is their return, I guess? Like when you guys did that, the massive e.l.f. Cosmetics campaign, right? Are they looking at sales? And do you think that, some of these new kind of features that TikTok is going to, bring into their platform is going to make it easier for you to kind of justify, the direct line to, increasing, their quarterly earnings or whatever it may be?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I think that's why TikTok is constantly introducing new features and for their advertisers, because the types of viral campaigns like we saw with e.l.f., Eyes, Lips, Face, and the other ones that we're doing, they're really much more about brand awareness and engagement, and they're just not set up structurally to be able to drive a lot of direct sales. So in terms of the metrics that we're using to evaluate the success there, it's much more about reach and engagement and amount of virality that we're able to create, and not so much about sales or any sort of direct revenue impact. And that's why these other sort of parallel products are super important on TikTok, so that now you've built a lot of buzz and energy for your for your brand on TikTok. How do you then convert those consumers so they're not just thinking about your brand, but now you can target them with an ad or even an ad through an influencer where they have the opportunity to go directly to your shopping cart. That's a really important missing link right now on TikTok.
Absolutely. So something that we've seen is that now you can, creators can add donation stickers to their videos or their live streams to encourage people to donate to charities during the coronavirus pandemic, which is pretty interesting. You can just add the sticker on there and, it'll take you to a donation page where people can donate to different organizations that have been pre-selected by TikTok. Some of them include the CDC Foundation, Meals on Wheels, the James Beard Foundation in the US, the British Red Cross, help musicians in the UK, etc. And I'm curious what you guys think about at this extra level of like corporate social responsibility. Do you think that there is a need for brands to be doing that right now, or even creators to be doing that right now to kind of do their part? Or do you think it might be perceived in an inorganic way if someone is using that?
Yeah, I think it has to be authentic, to your point. So it's not a good idea, I think, for brands to just be doing that just to show that they're doing it. But for us as a creative agency, how do we weave a story together that makes sense, where the consumer would see that and say, oh, I get that. It feels on brand for that brand that I like, and that actually enhances my experience of that brand because I see that and it makes sense. It's coherent, right? Versus just money for money's sake or donations. I think that at best it just seems a little random, and at worst it could seem as like pandering or taking advantage of the situation, which obviously we never want to do.
Absolutely. Any thoughts, Rachel?
Not for that one. I think we covered it.
Excellent. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I want to go back to the brand side just for a moment. So we've obviously talked. We've established the fact that brands need to be on this platform, right? But are there brands maybe that shouldn't necessarily be on it? Like I'm thinking more of like an IBM or something versus some of your consumer clients that you guys have had, Evan, and how can these brands kind of enter into TikTok one? And if they figure out a cool way or an interesting way to get on the platform, how do you recommend that they figure out what kind of content fits their brand to really speak to a TikTok audience. Like for instance, Apple just launched their first TikTok page. No content yet, but I'm really curious, like, you know, what a hardware company and, you know, I guess a software company is going to be doing on TikTok.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because there's no playbook yet for brand channels on TikTok. There's many different ways to go about it. And every time we take on a new brand and start creating the strategy and then creating their brand channel, it looks different, which is fun, I think, because there's a lot of opportunity for creativity and for the brands to express themselves. But the important thing that we try to do up front is always figure out how does that brand translate into the TikTok world, because all of our clients are super clear on how they express on Instagram, how they express on YouTube. And when they look at TikTok, they recognize right away that, wow, the conversation here is so different. The tone is so different. The cadence and pacing and everything is just so different. So how do we flex the way that we communicate and express ourselves so that it's still authentic to who we are as a brand, our personality, our tone, our visual identity, but that it also feels natural on TikTok? And you definitely see the brands that don't flex and they're just kind of, let's say, copy paste their Instagram strategy, and it's like super awkward, you know? So you don't want to be that brand. But how do you show up? And it's going to be different for everybody. You know, Apple has run some TikTok ads that were very high production value, that were very similar to the ads that they run on other platforms. And they get away with it and they do well with that, which is totally breaking the rules of TikTok, you know, which ordinarily is that everything should be low production value. But for Apple, they have a very unique brand, and you know they can do that. Similarly, like Red Bull, which is I think one of the most subscribed brand channels, they have over 4 million followers. They're actually just reusing their footage from other platforms of people jumping off cliffs and jumping out of airplanes and all that kind of stuff. And it does really well for them. But again, that's not a strategy that most brands can copy. So for most brands, it's more about thinking about the TikTok trends and conversations that would be relevant for them to participate in, and then you know, translating their stories into those sorts of formats.
Yeah, and can you walk us through a little bit on the sonic end of that? Like when you're creating that content, and obviously like all these TikToks have a certain element of sonics to it, whether, you know, it be a song or something. I mean, I know your agency has done a lot of original music. So if a brand's going to do a campaign in TikTok, can you kind of walk us through a little bit like what your recommendations are? Should you be using a song that's already popular? Should you be, you know, sourcing songs that are, you know, have already been out for a couple of years that are maybe under an independent? Like, how do you go about that process sonically to kind of, you know, bring that extra element to your content for a brand?
Yeah. Well, for a brand channel, you know, if we're talking about their organic page, there it's about relevance. So you want to be using the music that's relevant to the trends that are happening already on TikTok. So your job is not to start the trends. Your job is to understand the trends and then fit your brand into relevant trends in native feeling ways. Now, it's a different story when you're actually wanting to start a challenge, you know, as a brand, because then you get to invent it from scratch. And you have a few options there. You can use existing music. You can use kind of an inexpensive song that doesn't have any equity to it. Or you can license a song that does have a lot of equity, but that can be quite costly. And it's also typically even more costly, of course, when you want to be able to use that song across platforms. So not just on TikTok, but to be able to repost on Instagram, repurpose the UGC. So for that and many reasons, we often, as an agency, we almost always create original music for our viral challenges. It's something that we know how to do very well, and we've been doing long before TikTok existed, writing branded music. But what that allows you to do on TikTok is really architect the song so that it fits TikTok and tees up virality. So there's 15 seconds in a viral challenge. We sculpt each of the 15 seconds very carefully to tee up virality.
Yeah, and can you walk us through? I mean, your most recent campaign was with the new Scoob movie from Warner Brothers, and just kind of like give us a little context around that, because I think that kind of like encapsulates what you're really speaking about.
Sure. Yeah, this is exciting. So it's running right now. So if you're watching, you can pull up your TikTok app, go to the Discover page. You'll see on the Discover page #Scoob Dance. Which is this campaign that we're running with Warner Brothers to promote their new Scooby-Doo movie, which launches in a couple weeks. So, you know, the quick story is Warner Brothers came to us looking for help promoting their their new movie, and they wanted to create original sounds that would drive virality on TikTok, be something that they could really own. And we worked with them to come up with the campaign concept. We ended up landing on this Scooby-Doo dance that we wanted to get everyone to do on TikTok. And now you can join on the trend on TikTok and you'll see Scooby-Doo dancing. You can dance with Scooby. You can actually duet with him directly. So a few steps there, I guess, just to kind of walk through the process. After we had come up with the campaign strategy and concept, we went into the music production. And this is a really cool process where we actually, like I said, we architect the 15 seconds of the trend. So we map out what we want people to be doing because you have to be very directive about what the trend is so it's clear. And the music is one of the key ways that you communicate that. But then you also want to leave room for creativity, right? We don't want to be too directive because the reason that you'd want to create your video is you get to make it your own. So we think through that and we turn this map of the 15 seconds into a brief for our artists. And we go out to a handful of artists in our network who we think would really fit the style of the brand, in this case, Scooby-Doo, really targeting this teenage consumer. Our goal, our mandate as an agency was to age up Scooby and make him cool for teenagers. And so we figured out what the sound was. We called you, Clay, and you helped us source some amazing talent for that. And we came up with a few different demos and honed in on the sound that we wanted, which then we turned into the full song.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing. And Rachel, would love your comments on this too.
Yes. So again, I will ask, do you mind just repeating the question? Just because I like to use that time to think about how that connects to
Yeah. Of course. So like I was saying, a lot of brands are starting their channels. And I guess, obviously, starting a channel is really a daunting task. And, would love to hear your opinion on like what you feel the process needs to be for a brand starting a channel. Are there different rules for different types of brands? We had talked about the Apple example, how, Apple and Red Bull can kind of break the rules a little bit. That's not necessarily every brand can kind of do that. And also, how the brand should be looking at the different elements of their production of their pages, from the sonics to the actual content, and how you're thinking about how you would recommend brands kind of walk through that process for any, CMOs or brand marketers who are on right now.
Cool. Yeah. So I think it's cool kind of having, because my answer to that question is going to be completely opposite to the answer you just heard from Evan, because I work directly with artists. I think that there is no playbook in terms of how do we want the artist to treat on the platform. I think that in my experience, the most successful artist campaigns we've had is more so having them on there and actively use the platform every single day. So meaning we'll try to get them to post 2 videos a day, at least one of those being, but I want it to be catered to them. I don't want it to be so cookie cutter fit where they're only, creating videos to trending songs and app. I think that what's really important to us is that the artist is just creating content that is on brand for who they are. So I can give an example. One of our artists was this developing hip hop artist who was trained as an actor. So his whole thing was just doing really funny TikTok skits by nature. He had already seen success doing that on Vine. So for him, it was easy to just go on TikTok and come up with his own original sounds. And then every 6th post on his timeline was going to be a song catered to music that was his own. And then every now and then he might create a TikTok video to another song that was trending in the app. But his approach was more, let me use it every single day and come up with funny content for my followers so that they can get a window in on who I am as an overall person and not just the fact that I am an artist. For, another one of our artists, the approach there would just be that he liked doing covers by default. He was a YouTube artist prior to this who loved doing covers on YouTube. So what he would do on TikTok is actually create his own original sounds where he would start with a cover of his choice, but then remix it and flip it in a way that was really unique to him. And that's where he saw viral success within TikTok. So similar to Evan's answer in that you do want to have a branded approach for the artist. I think that I'm much less concerned in in the TikTok space and giving them, you need to do this, this, and this every single day at this time, more so than I would be for like an Instagram strategy approach for an artist. I think that for me, I like to challenge them with being active on the platform, and then 2, really coming up with creative ways for how we can, flip original sound, or, take an artist sound that's seen success in the app, and how can we flip that creatively? So maybe it's identifying one of his fans and then using the TikTok option to fast forward that or slow it down in a really unique way, and having our artists kind of kick off that trend from their profile, and then having like 3 of their top TikTok fans react to it. So I think that we're more interested in taking original sounds our artists use and finding creative ways to use the TikTok features to remix those and essentially try to increase the life of the original sound in different creative ways in the app. That's really nice.
So are you guys like working really closely with like the A&R teams, the producers, the writers? Like, I think that's such a fascinating concept that you guys are literally changing the sound of like maybe what the original composition looked like for the artist to kind of give that record an extra shelf life. Like, can you give us a little more background on like how you're working with them and kind of what each party's doing, like the producers, the writers, maybe the A&Rs or whoever else may be involved in that process?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that in my experience, like we always, first of all, certainly like the creative to always lead. So while I do know that some labels, not knocking them, but there are other, people out there that they will take the TikTok sound heavy into their A&R strategy. I haven't worked for any labels that cater too much of their plan to that. I think that said, though, we are constantly, like, I'm sitting with an A&R every single day and saying, okay, now that this song is final, let's have a seat together and think about what is the 15-second timestamp that's going to perform the best. So that would really be where we have those conversations, is sitting with them, identifying, because I have my own opinion from like a digital strategy perspective, but I also like to get the A&R's opinion. I also like to get the artist specific opinion. And then in a perfect world, those opinions will align. In the event that they don't, then we'll usually just come to some sort of a compromise. But certainly making sure that I am communicating with our A&R to make sure that we agree on the timestamp. And, that would have never been a conversation that I would have had prior to TikTok. So it's a really good point and a really good question.
This is really good because lately what I think about so much is like, when you're making ads for, a new release that's come out, usually, back in the day, we would think, okay, well, the radio, to get it, like getting on the radio, to getting it earwormy in the head, we're focusing on the hook. It's always the hook. It's always that chorus that we're paying attention to. But it seems to be that, is that the possibility that now, because TikTok has taken up so much space and attention for music, are we now reinforcing the section of music we're promoting the most for a release of a song more on the TikTok perspective and then disseminating beyond that? Or are we still like promoting the chorus or the hook of the song and then, doing a different part of the song for TikTok as a strategy?
I think for me, it's a case per case basis, right? I know one song I've seen success with has been this song Valentino. And whenever we were first starting with that, like there was some organic activity around the song. We did do some influencer activity around the song, but the approach we took there wasn't always on approach. So it wasn't just, let's do an influencer campaign just to the hook here and then see how that takes off. It was, delivering a couple different sound versions. Almost remixing 2 successful artist songs as well has been, really successful for us. So I think that I prefer, and I think Natasha, you would too, being the creative background that you come from, is, I actually love having fun with the sounds having fun with the original sound. And then how can we remix that? How can we speed that up, slow that down? And how can so that there's still enough of the hook in there so that you are able to identify it. Or if a fan was to Shazam that, they would be able to see that, pop up on their Shazam so they can stream it on, the different platforms. We certainly want it to be recognizable enough so that the user is able to identify the track, but we're also, like having fun and getting creative with how can we both keep the original sound original enough, but not be afraid to really dive in and make it creative and switch it up and challenge it that way.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. I absolutely love that. And I have another question for you. I know you have to go in 10 minutes, so I want to make sure I get this question in. So, basically in terms of like TikTok challenges, there's no doubt that like the right viral challenge can break a record and make a chart really, really quickly. Can you give us a sense of like how artists can go about creating successful campaigns on TikTok around a hashtag campaign or something like that, where they can create a challenge or something that you think allows people to collaborate in a really organic way that you think is like a go-to, we must use this kind of baseline guideline of strategy?
Yeah, I think that, dance challenges are certainly something that perform very, very well on TikTok. I know one thing that I've done in an artist campaign, which was very successful, was, how can we incorporate users around the world to submit their own videos, their own TikTok videos to be in our official music video? And that has been something that has worked really, really well because, this artist in particular isn't somebody who you would call the exact, Gen X artist. So seeing that artist in this space and also essentially ask their followers, because they have a global following, they have a huge global worldwide reach. So being able to integrate them, giving a call to action to fans to be part of their music video has been something that works really well. Dance challenges in general seem to perform very well. Also, on the flip side of that, though, I think that whatever the thought is, I like it to just be an always on approach. I don't think that nothing happens in a vacuum. That's a phrase that anyone who's worked with me knows I say all the time. So rather than us kind of put together the single's out on Friday, let's do a, 7-day campaign. We're constantly in this TikTok app every single day, looking at how the community is engaging. So even if that means we release an artist track, which, sometimes in the first week, we won't get more than maybe 100 TikTok videos to that sound, which I see as a wonderful opportunity. Okay, so this hasn't instantly hit off. How can we approach this in a way? So maybe we look at a trend that's happening in the app and then we remix our sound to sound more familiar with that and then try that. Oh, that didn't work. Okay, no problem. Let's try. Essentially there's no real playbook in terms of we do this every single time, but it's more so just constantly being in the app, constantly getting creative with it, constantly thinking about how can we pivot what's trending in the app right now to what our sound is. And I know that sounds a bit amorphous, but when you're so active in the platform, you always think of a way to kind of engage. But I think the main bottom line to that is just always taking an always on approach if you're an artist in that space. And don't just focus on, I just released a song this week and I'm only going to go hard in TikTok for that week around it. Because I'm sure that, Evan, you've seen this too. Like if a song is I've seen success where an artist, the organic activity of that artist post has ended up on the For You page on its own. And then that could pop back into the For You page maybe 3 weeks later. And we're like, where did this come from? How did the artist post go in here? Because TikTok's algorithm is unique in that way, in that there is no expiration date if something is going to pop off. And which we've seen with, Old Town Road, Nas X, that song was available well before it took off in app. And I can list on two hands other artists' songs that were available way before they, took off in app. So I think that there's this idea around, there's this idea around, you only need to do influencer activity in the first week of the song being out. And that's just not accurate at all. I think that you need to always take an always on approach within TikTok. And I think that Doja Cat's song, has really that has bared witness to this. I think that team has done an amazing job at keeping Say So active in the platform well after it's been released in 2019.
Yeah, I agree. And Evan, we just have a question that came in from the audience that I think kind of pertains to this topic. They saw that you guys were able to take the Eyes Lips Face song and like literally handed off in some way to Atlantic or one of the major record labels. And the question that I'm looking at is kind of how are you going about like talking to major labels when these songs get really big under the brands? And are brands trying to keep these songs? Does it make sense to move them to a major label to kind of expand the campaign? Thought that was an interesting question that really bridges well off of what Rachel's speaking about.
Yeah. Well, it's all developing fast. I mean, there's not a lot of best practices yet. I think with the Eyes, Lips, Face song, I mean, we certainly did not anticipate the success of that. We only wrote 15 seconds originally, actually. Like the original whole composition was just the 15-second track. And on day one, people are commenting on TikTok, like, why isn't the song in Spotify? So we extended it, and then it blew up, and then record labels started soliciting, and so we ended up doing a big deal with Universal. But we didn't plan for that. Because of that, we typically recommend to our clients that they actually control the music from the beginning. So many times we just do a full buyout out of the gate now, because the brands want to make sure that they have control of the song. When we don't do a buyout, we do put parameters in to protect the brand, because they're investing a ton of money and energy into creating equity. It's great. We always want that to accrue to the artist as much as possible, but we also need to carve out to make sure that that song isn't going to be licensed to a competitor or something, right? So
yeah,
we're playing with different ways to structure that. And we're also building partnerships with the labels that are looking to use their artists, because they recognize, I think, that they can get their artist into a big brand viral challenge. That's the big boost up for them. So there's many ways into this.
Yeah, and Rachel, we have one more question before you go, because I know you have to pop off at 7. A music manager here wants to know, how are you guys moving these TikTok campaigns into actual fans that translate into streams and bought tickets at concerts? Assuming, once concerts, obviously,
it's a lot of leaps.
a lot of leaps. So, curious to get your thoughts for one of the questions that just came in.
Great. Yeah. So I think that if the main goal here is to drive ticket sales, then you should absolutely, as a TikTok user, be using that TikTok live space as much as you can. Now, that said, you don't want to, like, why buy the cow when you get the milk for free? You don't want to give them, free, full on, live show, like live stream concerts. But I think that using the TikTok live tool is a way to engage your audience and increase ticket sales. That could certainly be a great tool. Also, TikTok does give you the option to link your YouTube and your Instagram account. So another way that you could use that is perhaps you use your TikTok space to do a couple of TikTok videos of you performing live. And then you use the YouTube link to kind of drive to use the YouTube as an additional driver to feature maybe like you went from 15 seconds to now a minute long. Then you can always include the link to your ticket sales in there as well. I think that there's a lot of creative ways in which you can cross-pollinate the TikTok platform and other platforms to try to, encourage ticket sales. I think that if your question is how can you use the TikTok app to, increase overall streaming and consumption of your platform, then that is certainly a question separate from ticket sales. But it really just comes back to, there is no blueprint. I can't tell you, like, do this, this, and this, and then your song will go streaming on Spotify. Yeah. But, what we can tell you is the more volume that you're able to create in TikTok through using the app more on a regular basis as a user, engaging with sounds that are trending in there, getting creative and coming up with your own original sounds that other influencers or other people are going to act onto. I think it's more focused on, what are the moments that you can create on your own that are going to make an impact in TikTok? And then one of those, in a perfect world, one of those will hit. And then you'll have one post that now has 25,000 views versus your average 500 views per post. And then, you just essentially once you see one thing collect steam, just keep adding on to that. Like keep, and like do content like that works because it's working more.
And before we head off, would love to just, get your one prediction post COVID-19, in the content and TikTok space that you think that brand marketers and managers and labels should know about.
I think that for, TikTok Live is, I can speak to this more from the live space. I think that obviously COVID-19 has significantly challenged all live events. So I think that their introduction of TikTok Live, I've noticed a huge increase in the use of that during COVID-19. And my prediction is that in 2020, 2021 and beyond, that they're really going to ramp up their live space. Perhaps that comes into more robust TikTok tours, or, they start building studios where TikTokers can come in and perform on a more TikTok branded level. But I just think there is something within that TikTok live space that we're going to see a lot more of in the future.
Amazing. And before you go to, where can people find you? What are your handles?
Yes,
let
please.
us know.
Absolutely. Yes. Please feel free to reach out. I am at Rachel Hardway, RACHAELHARDWAY on Instagram and all socials. And then as well as Dauntless Media TV is the name of my agency. So feel free to reach out to us. We're dauntlessmedia.tv online. We love hearing from fans. We love nerding out on all things digital. Natasha is one of my favorite people to nerd out with. So don't be a stranger. And thank you all again. This was wonderful.
Thank you so much, Rachel. We're super happy to have you here. And all your insights were so wonderful. So thanks again. And yeah, thanks. Awesome.
So Evan, let's get your one prediction post COVID that you want to kind of leave the audience off with.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think we've seen in COVID that TikTok usage has just exploded to a whole new level. It's gone from explosive to massively explosive. And, once quarantine ends and people have less time on social media, they're going to be deciding where to allocate that time. So I think people, somebody's going to lose. Some platform is going to lose out. And my guess is it's going to be some of the quote unquote legacy platforms, because TikTok is very addictive. So I think it's just going to continue to grow in terms of the market share, or I should say mind share, in terms of percentage of people's social minutes that are spent in which app. So from a marketer standpoint, it's really using this time to just get in and start to figure out the platform and how your brand can be successful there, because the importance is just going to continue to grow. You're muted, Clayton.
Muted.
Sorry, tech and quarantine culture. What can you do?
Yeah.
But Evan, thank you so much again for coming on. I mean, everybody, please go check out this Scoob TikTok challenge. It is amazing. Evan, thank you, for always reaching out to us and, allowing some of our artists to work with you guys. And, how can people reach you? How can people talk to you if they have additional questions, just so they can get in contact?
Yeah, for sure. If you just want to kind of follow my thoughts about TikTok and marketing, follow me on LinkedIn. That's where I'm most active. Just search by name. And then in terms of our agencies, Movers and Shakers, moversshakers.co is our website. So feel free to go there or shoot us an email, hi@moversshakers.co.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Evan, for the time.
Thank you,
and,
to be here.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate you. Awesome.
All right.
We did it. Number 2.
Yeah,
it has been so
2.
fun. This was a good topic. I really enjoyed it. We'd love to know in the comments if you guys have ideas on what you'd like to have us cover in the future. We've got a couple of the next few already planned out, but we would love to hear what you want to learn about, what you want to hear from, and what leaders we can bring on to share their insights.
Yeah, and we finally got an email going for this, so it's fast forward, literally just FASTFWD @cadmusicmanagement.com. It's in the description. Please go check it out. Follow us on @fastforward on Instagram. This will be put on YouTube. Amazing Tasha over here always takes care of that, and it looks beautiful. And I will get a microphone next time, so I look just cool. But yeah, thank you guys all so much for the time. We'll be back next Tuesday, and we'll let you guys know what the topic is coming on Monday, and stay close and stay tuned.
All right, y'all, take care. We'll see y'all next time.